For centuries, we Christians been taught certain ideas, and those teachings have led us to be passive bystanders in the governance of our own communities. This has resulted in significant human suffering and has caused millions to become disconnected from God. How do we think God will judge us for this? For hundreds of years, pastors and priests have taught us to believe things like, "We are in this world but not of it. Jesus will return and fix everything. We'll be raptured away," and that we are not accountable for the stewardship of our world and the governance of our communities. Some have even believed it's God's will for the world to get worse and for culture to descend into evil. These beliefs have left us disengaged from the governance of our own towns. And what has that led to? Our absence in local governance has cascaded up. First, we were absent in our town school boards, our city councils, then in our county commissioners, then in our regions, states, and ultimately, our entire nation and world. As Christians, we've been taught not to get involved because Jesus will come back and take care of it all. But consider this. It violates Acts chapter 1, verse 8. In that verse, Jesus tells us that we will receive power from the Holy Spirit, and that we are to be his witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. This wasn't just poetry, it's a geographical strategy meant to be followed even today. Jesus instructed his disciples to be witnesses in their immediate surroundings and then expand outward, covering all regions. This verse explains God's expectation for us to spread his values, and as witnesses, we are meant to share what's within us with those around us. That is the definition of a witness. For some, that may be speaking with fellow parents. For others, speaking with colleagues at work. For some, it might mean doing what Jesus and Apostle Paul did, speaking with community and national leaders. But instead of expanding, we've been retreating. While our forefathers established Christ's principles in this country, we've watched them diminish. The question is, will God hold us accountable for what has happened on our watch? Consider the changes we've seen nationally. In 1963, one person decided to be a witness. Unfortunately, she was a witness against us. But she was effective nonetheless. She was Baltimore woman Madeleine O'Hare, and she succeeded in removing prayer from public schools. Before that, faith was a part of education. Then, in 1973, another woman was a witness against us. Dallas woman Norma McCorvey, aka Jane Roe of the Roe versus Wade case. Jane's work resulted in the sanctity of life being struck down, and abortion became widespread, leaving countless women injured and scarred globally. During both these events, pastors and priests continued to perpetrate non-involvement and passive apathy from their pulpits. As a result, Christians stood down. Now these long-term decisions are hitting close to home. In our own schools, children are being bombarded with gender confusion, and the value of life is being marginalized. Violence and despair abound in our communities. Our absence in governance has led us here, violating not only Acts chapter 1, verse 8, but also Matthew chapter 28, verses 19 to 20, where Jesus commands us to go and make disciples of nations, not just individuals. Jesus was very specific. He told us to disciple nations, which are groups of people united by shared cultural agreements governing education, economy, laws, entertainment, and freedoms. When Jesus spoke of discipling nations, he meant influencing all these areas, just as Paul did when he spoke to leaders, including Caesar himself. So, does God expect us to make his principles felt in our laws, economy, education, and culture? If the answer is yes, then we need to re-examine why we've remained on the sidelines. For centuries, Christians have believed we're not responsible for this world, but these teachings have led us to be bystanders, resulting in suffering and a growing disconnect from God. The Bible warns us of this in Matthew chapter 25 in the parable of the talents. In that story, a master, representing Jesus, leaves and gives his servants gold to manage. When he returns, he asks them for an account. The first two servants engage with their community and produce fruit, but the third servant does nothing. He didn't commit any crimes, but he was passive. The master condemns him, not for wrongdoing, but for his failure to engage and produce results, and for that, this third servant was cast into hell. In the same way, we've been given many gifts in this country: a republic, schools, freedom of speech, the right to vote, an economy, the right to assemble, and more. In other nations like Cuba or Zimbabwe, people don't have the same gifts that we have. I know because I have lived there. Will God judge us for what we've done with the gifts we've been given? We believe He will. Look at Venezuela. Its people once had the opportunity to follow God's instructions, but they squandered it. Now they live under a dictatorship, and their suffering continues. The people of Venezuela will likely have to answer for the missed opportunity to be witnesses and disciple their leaders. Let us not squander what we've been given. Let us engage, and according to Matthew chapter 5, verse 13, be the salt of the earth and the light of the world. Salt influences everything it touches, just like we are meant to influence our communities. Light reveals what is hidden, just as we are called to expose darkness by speaking out and showing others the truth. To close this message, we're asking you to take action today. Text the word DEFEND to 91776, and you'll receive essential resources and next steps you can share with your peers and pastors. You'll also receive tools to help disciple the leadership in your community, starting with building strong, viable relationships with local leaders. Whether you feel unsure, intimidated, or don't know where to begin, or you're someone who needs specific guidance to have these important conversations, we have resources tailored for you. Additionally, you'll gain critical information on the 30 key counties in the United States that will shape the future of our republic. These counties are crucial in protecting children, safeguarding women, ensuring our freedom of faith, and electing leaders who can prevent conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East from escalating into a global crisis like in 1939 with World War II. Leadership that will keep the US dollar strong and mitigate the impending hyperinflation that will affect your savings, your purchasing power. Let's work together to preserve our values, our freedoms, and our future so that we too may be rewarded for producing fruit when we come before God. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Please connect with us at www.defendorunion.org and text DEFEND to 91776. Thank you for watching.